We are just getting new video from inside the school as that deadly shooting was underway. It was recorded by a student. Holy. Oh my God! That scene there played out in an American high school classroom today. Those are teenagers on the floor under their chairs and desks, screaming as gunshots were fired.
That's emerging of the suspect is of a troubled teenager who had a preoccupation with guns. Both of his parents had died. He'd been kicked out of the high school last year and then Wednesday came to school with a semi-automatic weapon. This morning, it appears 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz meticulously planned the attack on his former high school.
He had countless magazines, multiple magazines, and at this point, we believe he had one AR-15 rifle. I don't know if he had a second weapon right now.
His intention, authorities say, to cause chaos and kill as many people as possible.
He wore a gas mask and smoke grenades. He set off the fire alarm so the kids would come out into the hallways.
Investigators say Cruz had been expelled from the same school last year for behavioral issues, including threatening other students. According to the Miami Herald, Cruz's Instagram page underscored his love of weapons and contained images of Cruz wielding knives and showing off a gun. This morning, BuzzFeed is reporting the FBI was warned last year about the YouTube post from a user named Nicholas Cruz, who wrote, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." According to BuzzFeed, agents with the Bureau's Mississippi field office spoke with the person who alerted them back in September and asked to follow up once again after yesterday's shooting. Fellow students say Cruz was a socially awkward kid who had a preoccupation with guns.
I was in the vocational school, the alternative school. He went ahead and showed me all his layout of guns and said that how he used to just shoot them around for fun.
He's just always been a really crazy kid. And I heard some people say that one day he would have done this, and unfortunately I think that was today.
Since his mother died in November, Cruz has been staying with the family of a friend. A lawyer for the family says this all came as a shock.
He was a very mild-mannered kid. He's going through some tough times with losing his mom.
The question for investigators, was anyone aware of what he was planning? Veteran FBI agents and police chiefs say the MO is all too common.
Oftentimes in these incidents that you have a disenfranchised young man that who is really outside of the norm in the sense as a result of bullying, is it antisocial behavior, is it a romantic issue, is it just to make a name for himself? There's multiple motivations.
This morning, yet another mass murder at an American school. Yet another heavily armed, angry young man determined to kill. This is the 18th school shooting this year alone. Since the Sandy Hook massacre in 2012, when 26 were killed, there have been 273 more school shootings. FBI profilers say there are signs of danger to look for among a potential shooter. Somebody who is brooding, depressed, disenfranchised from other students, making remarks about others online, may be drawn to firearms and previous mass murders, and almost always, say investigators, there are warning signs on social media if anybody is paying attention.
There was a fire drill, and what had happened was we heard shots, and not a lot of us knew what they were from, and I had seen someone go down, and I told one of my friends, and they didn't believe me, and then we heard more shots. When I saw them lying on the ground, it was after we had been escorted, and they were dead. They were covered up, and they were dead.
We hid in the tennis courts, then we went to the locker room. We were in there for about 2.5 to 3 hours. Then we went out into the gymnasium, the indoor gymnasium, then they evacuated us off.
I was in the freshman building, first floor, and he went up and down the hallway, just banging and shooting into the classrooms. He shot through my door and broke the window.
He was on the 3rd floor. He knows the school layout. He knows where everyone would be at as of right now. He's been in his fire drills. He's prepared for this stuff. He was a kid that got out of school. He was a little bit of a troubled kid, but everyone thought, he always had jokes and stuff like that. It was a lot of crazy stuff that he did, just not right for school. He got kicked out of school multiple times for this kind of stuff.
In the hallway, you say you also saw assistant football coach Aaron Feis.
Yes, sir. I saw him running towards the gunshots as soon as they had started to happen.
Tell me about Aaron Feist. You can tell by looking at you, you were a football player.
Yes, sir. I did the summer program. We were lifting weights, and I couldn't do it with job and ROTC, but I still lifted, and I had a close relationship with Coach Feist. Very selfless man. He was made sure that everybody else's needs were met before his own. He was a hard worker. He worked after school on the weekends, mowing lawns, just helping as many people out as possible. Very friendly, approachable, and very selfless.
So when you saw him running down that hallway to help, you thought, this is just the kind of thing Coach Feist does?
Absolutely. That's Coach Feist. He wants to make sure everybody's safe before himself.
What'd you hear happened to him?
I heard that he had used himself to shield other, I believe it was 3 females that were in the line of fire. He used his body to shield them.
You told me you spent yesterday morning with Coach Feist in
Yes,
the
sir.
office.
After second period, I saw him in the hallway, and we walked in the office, and we talked for like 20 minutes, just talking about normal stuff. How's work? What are you doing after school today? How's football going? That kind of thing.
What's it feel like knowing Coach Feist is gone today?
He's definitely in a better place now. I'm glad that he didn't suffer that much. It's sad because it's not going to be the same without him at school anymore. That's for sure. Football definitely won't be the same. We're definitely going to have to band back together as brothers and mourn his loss and pick up the pieces to try to rebuild our football team.
I have something very important to tell you. You're charged with some very serious crimes. You have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right at any time during this hearing, whatever you say can and will be used against you in the prosecution of this case. Okay, defense?
Your Honor, the defense has no arguments at this time and will defer until further court proceedings. We would formally invoke Mr. Cruz's right to remain silent, and that notification relates to any law enforcement agencies that are involved in this case, both at a state and federal level.
Okay, I've reviewed the probable cause affidavit. Mr. Cruz filed in your case, and I find probable cause. I further find the proof of guilt to be evident, or the presumption great. Therefore, Mr. Cruz, you're going to be held without bond until further order of the court. This order is without prejudice for you to file a motion to set bond with your assigned division judge and request a hearing under State v. Arthur. Does anybody know, has he been assigned a division judge yet?
Yes, he has, Your Honor. He's been assigned to Judge Shears.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Sir, you're going to be held no bond.